Hey everyone! That was weird. This is the opinion zone, and you are gonna get some opinions today, my friend. One slight thing, uh, none of them are to do with Sonic. Yeah, basically what happened is the only interesting thing that's been happening in my life of late is that Toy Story 4 came out, and I've seen it 3 times, and my friend, good friend Paul, has just seen it. So what we decided to do was just record our opinions of the film and the universe of Toy Story in general after midnight. So basically, if you want a well broken down, structured review of Toy Story 4, go somewhere else. However, if you want to hear two people talk about the Toy Story 4 film all over the shop in no chronological order of the plot, skipping to the end, to the middle, to the beginning, back to the end, then this is the perfect thing for you. You're very, very welcome. So yeah, here's me and Paul, who has never done a podcast before, just rambling in an unorganized fashion about Toy Story and why Bonnie is an absolute bitch. Enjoy.
Do you know what? I've never listened to a podcast.
You've never listened to a podcast?
Nope.
Why? They're such a
Nope,
rich
nope.
medium.
Are they? Isn't it just gaslighting, essentially?
Well, this is not a great introduction as being on a podcast. It's just tearing down the whole medium.
Like, but there we go. Like, I'm sure it's amazing, but you know.
Well, I've been told basically there's another guy who does on this podcast. I do one called The Opinion Zone, which is the better one, and he does one called Special Stage, which he has just sent me an episode of the Special Stage, and I don't know if I can upload it.
Why?
Because he is, let's say, the edgier of the show. He likes to push the boundaries a little bit. Like he did a whole episode where Sonic fought ISIS.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a thing. I'll never share it with you. Don't worry. But I wasn't recording this so that I could talk to you about the issues I'm having with Special Stage for last year and stuff. It's because even though I do a Sonic the Hedgehog podcast, the only interesting thing that's happening in my life right now is that Toy Story 4 came out, and I want to talk about it, and you're one of my best friends, and it's an excuse, because I'm not going to talk to you about Sonic, because you don't give a shit about Sonic.
I mean, that's a podcast for another day, isn't it, really?
I guess it is a whole discussion about... I feel like that would just be more of an intervention by you on me of like.
Well, it'd be more of me roughly describing characters which I have vague memories of, and you corrected me.
Probably. But you've seen Toy Story today.
I did.
And I've seen Toy Story 3 times.
Yeah, I've only seen it once because I'm a reasonable person.
However, you say you're a reasonable. You say you're a reasonable person. You cried.
Nearly 3 times. Because I'm also a reasonable person with emotions. Jamie.
You don't have emotions. You're dead inside.
I do have emotions, apparently, but it's just towards sentient toys.
Okay, yes. Not actual people. That makes sense. Did you see it with Barbie?
I did see it with Christy, yeah.
Did Christy cry?
No, Christy didn't cry. He laughed at me crying.
Oh, that's not supportive.
No, but he said it's not a surprise that, I cried at these things.
Okay.
So.
I guess he's the only one who sees your true heart. What? Okay, honestly, because I have opinions. Toy Story 4.
Okay. Yeah.
Firstly, well, the important thing is, starting off, you've got to rank the 4 Toy Story films, best to worst.
Rank films. Okay.
So, what's your ranking? Because I'm curious where 4 places within your personal ranking.
For me, I would say it probably goes 3, 4, 2, 1.
Wait. Really?
Yeah.
It's like the best of all of the films being 4.
3, 4, 2, 1.
3, 4, 2. Okay.
Right.
That's fair, I guess.
Right.
I wouldn't rank 4 that highly, to be honest.
Where would you put it? Like, it's definitely better than 2 and 3.
It's not better. No. It's 3, 2, 4, 1.
3, 2, 4, 1. You put it down that low.
Yeah. Let's be honest. It's worth saying. I put it down that low. It is still a really, like, the Toy Story films are all amazing. So like that's saying it's the lower half of a very, very solid bunch.
Yeah, I mean, I like 2, but for me, Al from Al's Toy Barn's voice just grated on me a lot, and the fact that they sort of redid the whole Buzz thing, but like, yeah, no, I think it's second best, really.
The problem is, Toy Story 4 is, in my opinion, the funniest of all the Toy Story films.
Yeah, definitely.
But it hasn't really got a plot.
It doesn't really, does it? Like, it seems like the idea was we need to get Bo back into this, and she can be a lost toy, and that was sort of it. Because the bad guys turned out to be good guys, and like,
I'm convinced that the Toy Story 4, the concept of Toy Story 4 was the ending, and then they worked their way backwards.
Do you think?
It feels like it, like, because to me, they really, really had to go out of their way to justify doing a film after the ending to the trilogy. And I feel like they worked so hard on what is this big new ending going to be, and then they worked out how they were going to make a story lead up to that point.
Yeah, I see how you mean. Now, do you think they're going to do a 5th? Or do you think that's it?
There doesn't need to be a 5th. There didn't need to be a 4th, to be fair. But
no, really, there didn't need to be a 3rd in going on that aspect.
Oh, I think I like the 3rd one because I think it wrapped everything up, and like it was timed well with the distance between films and stuff, and Andy growing old and shit. But
yeah, like, but they could have just ended it there, like, oh look, he's grown up like you have now. It's done. It's like the torch has passed over. But at the same time, they could do that again now with the 5th one, like just without Woody, like because he passed on the sheriff's badge to Jessie, and so I suppose she takes.
Can you honestly imagine a Toy Story movie without Woody in it?
Well, this is what we were saying. Like, would it still work? Because
no,
it's Woody, like. Or do you think it would be a case like in the future that same carnival happens up in the same town as where they all still are, and they get reunited and yada yada yada?
It would be that. It would be a unbelievably coincidental reuniting, but then they'd have to think of another sad ending, because I feel like that's the problem. These Toy Story films now are known for their endings rather than the rest of them.
Yeah, like they're like a sad ending now, don't they?
They do. But
it wasn't particularly sad, this one. It was very much a sort of done with that sort of story. I think, Woody realised that he was sort of done with Bonnie.
I guess. I mean, well, no, he wasn't done with Bonnie. Bonnie was done with him, and this pisses me off. Yeah. So, go all the way back to the beginning of the film. In fact, go back to the ending of Toy Story 3. Andy, being Andy, who, to be fair, at his age was a bit too attached to his toy still, goes to this little kid, and he goes like, "Oh, here's Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head, and here's a piggy bank, don't break it," and all this shit. And then he goes, "And here's Woody. Woody is my bitch. Woody is my, like, I have an unnaturally close relationship with Woody, and I love this toy with all my heart, and he is the most important thing in my world. If I have kids, they will possibly be the second most loved thing after this toy. Will you look after can you look after Woody?" And Bonnie's like, yes, I can. Apparently that is until she decides to play with a fucking spork. And then...
Well, kids grow up. Like, kids change, they lose interest in things. And I suppose they're right. Like, she would favour Jessie over Woody.
Yeah, but Buzz Lightyear, Mr. Potato Head, Ham, like...
You leave the potato heads alone. And, you know, Ham's a pig. Everybody likes
it. Just doesn't make sense to me. Like, there's a lot of things I don't get. She has an indifferent... Like, she's just an awful child. Like, she's just a terrible child. She is ungrateful for the toys she has. And, like, this toy which has been handed down to her, he goes missing numerous times throughout the film, and she doesn't notice. He leaves at the end of the film. She does not notice. Like, Woody is gone forever. And I know Bo Peep sets up saying, sometimes toys go missing. Kids move on. Like, I get it. But it's just like...
He wasn't her favourite, so she would notice. But the spork, she was very attached to that piece of disposable cutlery with a stick.
He was her favourite in Toy Story 3. She wrote her name on his foot over Andy's, which, oh my gosh, how dare you stand where he stood?
Yeah, at the start. I mean, nothing said that she didn't love him. She just didn't want to play with him. I mean, at the end of the day, it was Woody who abandoned Bonnie, not the other way around.
Oh no. She'd already said, like, bye bitch. Like, when she took that badge off Woody, I was like, firstly I was like, we're 4 films in and that's the thing he can do, take his badge off. I feel like he would have lost his badge. Like, if he was any toy, that badge would have been gone years ago.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, how he still has his hat is amazing.
This is very true. Especially as he was made, like, what did he say, like this?
He's made of shite, I don't know. But anyway, so I don't know, it's just so I hate Bonnie, that's the summary. Bonnie is the actual villain of the film.
I don't think Bonnie is the actual villain of the film. I think that you are just projecting your protectiveness over Woody onto Bonnie. And you just need to accept the fact that kids have a new favourite. She never once abandoned him, and she certainly still looked after him. Like, he was still there. So
no, she doesn't. She plays with him once in this whole film, and what she does is stick his feet in, like, dipping pots from a takeaway or fast food place. She does not care about that toy at all. And okay. Point is, Bonnie's a bitch, and I hope her life is horrendous. Secondly, she makes this sport character, Forky.
Oh, yes.
Who I've got to say, in my opinion, is possibly one of the best additions to the Toy Story cast ever.
Now, you see, I thought he was going to be really bloody annoying. But, actually, yeah, he was actually quite funny.
He was so funny.
I quite enjoyed.
And how you... There's no... It's the most relatable character in any cinematic universe. A character that thinks it's trash and just thinks it belongs in trash.
I don't think
Like, that's my life.
Well, I mean, it's not, but sure. And, like...
It's just, I don't know, I think it was amazing. I loved him so much. The only thing about him was he was created and then was really funny for, like, the first act of the film, and then sort of became pointless.
Well, yeah, like they sort of phased him out again. Again, he was a good idea. Like, Bo being lost toy and this sort of mafia-esque sort of antique store with him being really funny. And then halfway through, the Colin went, "Oh,
Yeah.
doing that with Forky," and then lots of jokes about him just being a fork.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It was a shame. I feel like they didn't really know what to do with the character once they'd made him, and he then
what could they do?
He did purely become the plot device.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I think if they did the whole film with him just constantly trying to throw himself into rubbish, it would be boring. So I think they had to sort of get rid of it. Really, well, not get rid of him, but sort of fade him out a little bit into the background because the focus became like the sort of moral quandary of Woody abandoning Bonnie.
Yeah. And then, of course, so that, Forky exists, great. They end up in the antique shop, as we said. Then they meet Gabby Gabby, who, like, I have opinions on Gabby Gabby because Gabby Gabby existed as the villain, but then sort of is redeemed at the end. And, like, as if, like, oh, she isn't that bad, really, but she's still a villain. Like, that whole voice box thing was... She emotionally manipulated Woody into taking his voice box out of his chest. That's a bit fucked up.
Yes, it was that. Like, I quite liked it, but I like a villain. Sorry, I got a cough. But she was one of the points where I shed a little tear when she found the lost girl. Like, I thought that was really sweet. Because
That
at the
was
end of the
really
day,
sweet.
she just wanted to be loved, and we've all been there. We've all turned out to be the villain, We've all tried to steal someone's voice box. Ursula.
Well, I mean, I guess that's the one other example we've got. But that's the other thing that made me laugh was, so Gabby Gabby is once this child called Harmony gets a voice box, Harmony's like, bitch, no, you're like an old toy, I don't care. Which they should have been established, because I think the fact that she took Woody, this Harmony kid, took Woody to the park, lost him at the park, and never mentions him, shows that she's pretty careless when it comes to toys. Anyway.
This Harmony is the villain, because she's obviously before.
Yeah. But what makes me laugh, so Gabby Gabby at the end of the film is in the carnival, sees this girl who's lost, and then they do the plush rush where they throw the ball towards the doll, which in the real world would be highly terrifying to see a ball roll past and then just see a doll in the corner in the dark, but okay. And then this kid picks up the doll. In the film, takes it to the parents. Oh, I found this doll, her name's Gabby Gabby, she was lost too, and the mum's like, oh, that's so cute, let's go home. In reality, if I was a parent, one day, hopefully, if I was a parent, my little girl comes running up to me like, oh, Mum, I was lost. Like, yeah, we know. I found this doll. She was lost too. I'd be like, that's cute. Put that on the floor. You're not taking a toy you found in the floor in a carnival. That's disgusting.
Why would you do that?
Because if my kid picked up a random toy, I don't know where it's been.
You were careless enough to lose your child in the first place. You then find comfort in this doll that you found on the side. I obviously found courage in this toy to come and find you, and then you would make your child abandon her new little friend that she's found. Because she was on the floor.
No. Yeah. Well,
I mean, I think that's a bit of a dick move. Like, you're not.
If I'm a good parent, I don't let my kids play with any old shit they find on the floor. You don't know where it's been. what state it's
Well,
in. It could be haunted. It's been lost in a carnival, and it's like an ancient doll. Also, it could be laced with fucking meth for all I know. Like, you do not.
well, then you've made money. Like, let the kid keep the doll. Like,
Oh no, that's not okay. And
justice
then
for Gabby.
what I would do is I would grab the doll and then be like, okay, that's great, child. I forgot your name, even though I'm your mother. And then let's all get in our car, and then when the child's fallen asleep, throw the doll in a
Grab
bin
her.
and be
Grab
like, oh, I guess Gabby went on her way to find where she was found by her family, and now they're happy together. Isn't that great?
To basically teach her child about abandonment and how she'll never have any friends. Because the one friend that she did make abandoned her, just vanished.
I would teach my child to make real friends.
The one thing that she trusted and found friendship in, you would take away, so she learns that nothing is forever and that you'll never have any friends because everything that you love will leave you. That is what you're saying to your child. Let her keep the floor doll.
Look, I get it. You would let your kid have the floor doll because you don't care about your child's hygiene and welfare. It's fine. We do parenting differently.
Literally hand gel and Dettol for this types of situations. Like, just give it a white round and a Febreze and you're fine. Like,
No,
off you pop.
because look at that doll. If you actually found that doll loose in a carnival, it's 100% haunted. And in this film, it is. It's literally sentient in this film.
You're literally sentient. But, like, I look around at the collectibles I have. They're not toys because I'm, in my 30s, so they're collectibles now.
Okay.
And I wish that they'd be sentient because then they could clean. I mean, think about it. Like,
the point about... Look, we've had this discussion off air. The point about toys being sentient isn't that they can do your household chores. Because the point of the universe that this happens in, you don't get to find out they're sentient, which means that if they go around clean the house, and you'll know that they did something.
But the thing is, I'm just saying this nice and loudly so everything can hear. Like, I wouldn't care. Just want a Hoover pushed around. That's all.
Also, if my toys were sentient, I don't know if I could go to sleep, because they'd all be staring at me.
Well, they're probably seeing some very dark thing.
How dare you? I'm a man of
Some very dark, perverted things. But, I suppose it. What?
You're so full of shit. But, so yeah, I just wouldn't let this child... And there's a lot of things like that. Like, I don't know how I'd feel with... If I took my kid to the park, and they all went into the sand pit, and there were all these like toys sat in there. I don't know if I'd let my kids play with those either.
Yeah, that'd be a bit gross. But I don't know why.
Wait, why is the park not okay, but the carnival's fine?
It just is. It just is. It's different.
It's not different. It's the same.
No, it's different. Because those kids weren't lost and scared. So.
Okay. Well, the park is where Woody first meets Bo Peep.
Can we just for a brief second talk about how how unjust it was that third little, I can't remember his name. Those are three of them.
Combat Carl.
Yeah, that poor little white costume Combat Carl. Never once got a high five. Like, sad.
But did you watch to the end of the credits?
Well, I did.
Well, then
but not the end of the rolling.
He gets his high five. He gets his justice at the end. There's a cute scene once all the credits have rolled. The Pixar logo comes up again, and rather than the lamp, it's Duke Kaboom, and Duke Kaboom bounces on the eye, and then the little Combat car walks up, and Combat lets him have his high five, and that's how it ends. So there is justice for him. When that happened in the cinema, the audience people I was with, they all audibly were ahhing the fact that he got left hanging. The audience
Yeah,
felt bad for him.
so. Now, other characters wise, let's go to the conjoined teddy bears. What's your
Cooler
initial
than that.
thoughts of those? Say, like on the promo stuff and things, because I thought they were going to do my head in. Like, I didn't hold out much hope for them, but there was audible chuckles from me about them in the cinema.
They are very funny. They do exist purely for comic relief and have no character of no personality.
They bring nothing to it. Like,
yeah,
I don't understand why they didn't go with Buzz and that lot. Like, because the whole thing was that they wanted to go to Bonnie, and then all of a sudden just decided not to go with Bonnie.
Yeah, I mean
also,
the whole. Sorry.
Like, I don't quite understand why Bo just didn't get in the van.
Well, no, because Bo. I mean, okay, you just unpacked so much stuff in that sentence. Firstly, the cuddly toys, Ducky and Bunny.
Exactly.
Forgot the names. Like we said, very very funny, but so one-dimensional, had no character or arc or anything. They were very funny, but it did make me say, well, why were they in the film when you could have, like you said, used some of the original crew?
Jesse could have done it, because for being such a main part of the previous films, by the previous two films that she was in.
Yeah, so it felt generally all the original cast was sidelined. You could argue that that's because their story finished in 3. Like, the arc of those characters ended when they went to Bonnie, and this film is an epilogue for Woody.
Yeah, it's sort of his swan song, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, so they're more just so it's fine, I guess. But then, the reason, but Bo wouldn't have gotten the van because Bo made it very clear that it'd been 6-7 years since she had a kid. And she was like, "No, I'm not going back to that life. Like, that's not what I'm having a kid is not actually the end all. Doesn't have to be." So I don't think. So because Woody asked her, do you think you'll never go with the kid again? She was like, no, and I'm totally okay with that. So, I thought that made sense. I didn't see her.
For a porcelain doll, she's very reckless.
She is very reckless, but I appreciated the fact that she had a broken arm. Because it did show that she has had, in a prior adventure, she has had mishaps.
That's some sort of alignment. But also, what happened to the bonnet? Yeah, where did the bow come from?
I'm trying, because I was thinking, is the bow part of what used to be the dress? Because obviously the dress she inverted and turned into a cape. But then I feel like she didn't do that. I feel like I don't know, maybe a previous owner did, because the cape was sewn on with a button that was from something completely different, and also her Billy Goat and Gruff, they all had stickers and shite stuck on them.
No, that annoyed me a little bit. They're called Billy Goat and Gruff.
Yeah,
because they're goats, and they're quite clearly sheep. And it's Little Bo Peep has lost a sheep, not Little Bo Peep has lost a goat. Well, different sheep names.
It did make me laugh because there is a point in the film where Bo Peep does indeed lose her sheep.
He does, but they're goats, but they're named after goats. Yeah, it's because they attach themselves to one of the dummies, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a lot of weird things about this film, I guess. And I know this whole discussion thing all over the place. It's just the fact that, the characterizations, some make sense. I think the characterization of Bo Peep is great. I really enjoy it. I think it's one of the few times recently I've seen a film that's... Because a lot of films, let's be honest, I know that as two white men, we're the perfect people to have this conversation, but there have been a lot of films where there has almost felt like a boardroom push to have female presence in, and sometimes it's felt a bit forced and counter narrative and stuff, and like it's not enough to put women in films. You have to put women in good roles with good stories and good writing. Like otherwise, you're just undermining them, in my opinion. That's how I feel.
That's
and with
it.
Bo, yeah, like give them like amazing stuff. Don't just like chuck them in to tick a box, but then don't really do anything good with it. And I was worried that though when they were making Bo all badass, I was like, oh, this feels a bit too woke for me.
I don't know what that means, but
well, it just felt like it felt a bit. When I first saw it, I thought, oh, this seems a bit like it's pandering to a newer audience who want strong female characters, so we're going to retroactively make a female character a stronger one. However, again,
yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, but however, when they explained it, and like the fact that she had been abandoned and like it'd been 6 years and stuff, and I thought, oh no, actually, this is perfect. It makes perfect sense.
She'd learned to be like that, hadn't she? Like she'd had to learn to be like that.
Exactly. So it seemed like a very believable evolvement of a character. So when she was kicking ass and stuff, yeah. Like, because let's be honest, she had, I think someone counted, like in the first 2 films, she had a total of less than 6 minutes screen time.
Yeah, like she was very much there just to sort of kiss Woody at the end of it, wasn't she? Like,
yeah, just to flirt and be like, and that was about it.
She was the Princess Peach of the Toy Stories, wasn't she? Really, like.
Well, yeah, but
Bo's in another country.
So Bo's character was very well written. Woody's character was interesting in this film because,
well, it's nice to actually get to know her because you never actually got to know her in any of the other films. Like she could have been like this the entire time.
Yeah, which
she just never left the room.
She didn't have the opportunity to. So yeah, I liked her character. Woody's character was mixed for me because, well, I don't know.
It was a bit weird, like he annoyed me a bit. Like this whole like, no, I've got to go back to Forky, whatever. Like at the cost of other toys as well at this point. So it's like chill out, man.
Well,
like,
it's throughout the film he comes across to have very loyal, but in my opinion, selfish motives. Because he only gives a fuck about Forky in the beginning because he wants to be relevant. It's for him, not or for Bonnie, not for Forky. Then he finds Forky, and convinces Forky to see Bonnie. But then when he sees Bo in the shop, he's like, "Fuck Bonnie for a sec. I'm gonna go after what I want, which is Bo Peep." Then and then he, like you said, he almost rips his voice box out, and then one of the sheep loses a leg, and the stuffing comes out of Bunny, and Giggle McDimples gets eaten by a cat. Like it all goes tits, and then Woody's like, "Let's go back in," and they're like, "Dude, no, like what the fuck?" And considering he talks about throughout all the films of like, it's about doing it for our kid, or it's about staying together. At the end of the film, he decides, fuck both those things. I'm going off to bang this Bo Peep. If toys bang, I don't want to think about it, to be honest. So
I mean, that's a different set of toys, I think.
Yeah. But then I think about it, and I actually think going back to the first film, Woody is a slightly selfish character. Like he tried to push Buzz down the back of a desk.
Well, yeah, he tried to get rid of Buzz, didn't he?
Yeah.
In the second film, he was set to abandon everybody again to go live with Jessie in the museum, so he could be adored and looked after. Like,
so,
because it's quite the selfish character.
Do you think, in the course of this film, that it's a natural progression to the decision Woody makes at the end?
I think so. Like, I think eventually he chooses the right course of action because he's sort of, I don't know. I think he's sort of like chaotic good, isn't he? Like, he'll sort of try and do the right thing by any means, which was proven in this film. But I think when he sort of came about to do what was right for him, really, because he realised that it's time, you know. The Bonnie's sort of done with him, and Bo's there, and he regretted not going with Bo, from what I'm guessing. And let's just stop recording. I know. Like he stopped, like he regretted not going with Bo the first time, didn't
he? Yeah.
First time, I nearly cried. So he had a second chance with her, and he chose. So he chose happiness, and I think that's quite sweet.
What made you cry in that ending? What specific part pushed the tears on? Because I know which bit that actually made
it come out. It was when he ran back to Bo. Like, I just thought it was lovely, and then obviously they all came out and said, bye and all that shit. But like, it was that moment where he chose, he chose happiness over going back to sit in a cupboard for the sake of sitting in a cupboard.
See, the bit for me, because I saw it with my boyfriend, and he cried. I got teary, but he cried. But the bit that made me get teary was the bit where when they all did their goodbyes, and it was Buzz, and that was like, it made me think, oh shit, this is it.
Oh, they had that great big embrace, and
yeah, and I mean, I was a bit upset because I recently, after watching Toy Story 4, I've watched Toy Story 3 again, and one scene really got to me, which is the scene when they're in the daycare, and Woody says, right, well, basically flips the V at them and goes, right, well, if you're staying here, I'm going off to Andy because I'm a good toy, like you little shits. And he walks off, and then Bullseye comes after him. Like, Bullseye's like, I am your loyal steed, I am your pet, basically. I'm gonna come with you, Woody, because I love you unconditionally. And he's like, I don't want you alone in the attic, I'm really sorry, Bullseye. And he's the same in Toy Story 2, like, he's like gutted when Woody threatens to leave. And I felt like there wasn't really a proper goodbye. I wanted a better goodbye for Bullseye, because I was like, Bullseye's like the dog, even though there is literally a dog in Slinky, but he's like the dog in the family, and like you say goodbye to your pets, because fuck, they mean more to you than anything else. So that upset me a bit, but yeah, it was just, I don't know, I realised that the ending's weird to me. It's weird. The more I think about it, the weirder it is. Like, he's lost his voice box. He's sort of accepted his fate. Like, and I think he made the right decision, because I think he quickly realized, like, he was never Bonnie's toy. He was Andy's toy. And he served his purpose. He had fulfilled what he needed to do. So now he had to find something new, because the thing about the ending of Toy Story 3 is people said it was about, like, moving on. But it's not, because they're not moving on. They're just replacing Andy with a new Andy. That's not moving on. Yeah. That's just recycle. That's like when you have an abusive ex-boyfriend, you just replace him with another abusive boyfriend. Like, it's not moving on. That's just repeating bad habits.
It is, yeah.
So
it was basically just right now.
Yeah. So now it's like actually moving on, because that's what's going to happen to Jessie and Buzz and Slinky. Like, Bonnie's going to grow up. And also, Bonnie's a heartless cow. So Bonnie's going to be bored of them in, like, 2 months. They're all going to be replaced with utensils.
Well, yeah, that's it. But maybe that's it. They'll find each other in the fifth one, if there is a fifth one.
I've, in my head, planned the ending of the fifth film. So, Here we go. This is your crying ending, right? So, somehow, I've made up some canon in my head. Just go with me. In Toy Story, in the universe, as proven by Forky, toys come alive when a child loves them, and their purpose, their purpose exists, and then they're a toy. Yeah.
Because when the child falls out of love, or they die.
I'm saying that when a child doesn't love the toy, or the toy has lost that purpose, it has the option of effectively suicide in this, or temporary suicide, in the sense that it
Okay.
can basically go, right, I've served my purpose. I don't need to live in this horrible existence. I'm going to basically, like, just like peacefully, effectively die. But you're not going to die because it's a kids' film. But you become inanimate. You become literally what you are in the real world. You become an inanimate object because you don't have a purpose anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Until you're woken again by that purpose again, right? So
Right.
Toy Story 5. Don't ask me how this happens because I don't work for Pixar. But what's going to happen is Bo and Woody somehow in this film, Bo and Woody in this film at some point are going to come to the realization through an emotional plot device that they have served their purpose and they've found these toys new homes and shit, but they've done everything they can, and together, like arms around each other or something, they become lifeless, and on a windowsill,
Okay.
and it pans out, right? Then
Okay.
that's not the ending. That's like the, oh, that's so sad, fake ending. The actual ending is
Yeah,
Andy, who is now an adult, finds them and then takes them
his
back
kid.
to his home and gives them to his kid.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
And the kid's like, this is the greatest porcelain doll and Woody without a voice box toy I've ever wanted. Dad, thank you. And then they,
Yeah.
and then Woody, and they're so happy because they're with the family they were meant to be with. Everyone cries. I win an Oscar for best writer or something.
I mean, no, but I could see that. But what about everyone else? Like, how do they find everyone else? Or is it just Woody and Bo from now on?
Well, I was thinking but I was just thinking, because the problem is with the characters who stayed with Bonnie, they've set themselves up for an Andy scenario again, where she ends up going. Well, let's face it, she's making spoons in class. She ain't going to college, but she's gonna go and like get a job at Burger King or something, and she's gonna leave him behind.
The child was in
And
first grade. I mean, she did a pretty good job with Forky and Knife, whatever.
knifey, like I don't know. Point
It could be
is,
Shank the Skinner, I guess.
but she's gonna move on. And like I said, unlike Andy,
Yeah.
who waited until he went to college, she's probably gonna do it next week. So they're gonna have that problem of like, where do we belong? So maybe the fifth film is about how they catch up with Woody and be like, "Hey, Bonnie left us. Help."
Help.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, and like, but it's just difficult because half the cast will be dead by then anyway. Like, two of them have already died. Like, that's why. I mean, like, Don Rickles has unfortunately passed, so like that's why yeah. Like, it's
He had
cute
nothing
that
in it.
they, yeah, but and all the lines he said were reused lines from previous things, so
Yeah.
which was clever. But then Mrs. Potato Head
else
didn't
died?
say anything, and she's fully alive, but they just didn't write her anything.
I love Mrs. Potato Head. She's like the best.
She is the best.
Like, the best
Like,
story.
fun fact: the toys at the beginning of the film, the opening scene where he's left in the wardrobe or something, and you know those toys that have been forgotten about and they're the old toys, yeah, that have long forgotten, yeah. They're all played by well-known American, like, older generation actors. Like, one of them's Betty White.
Is it?
Yeah, like they're all like played by I'm not American, so I don't really know them, but like they're all played by like well-known like of that generation actors. So the old toys are played by the old generation of actors, and I like that.
Betty White was in it.
Betty
Why didn't they
White
give her
plays.
that? She should Gabby or whatever. Like, Betty White's genius. It's not the foundations of this very planet. I'm pretty sure when she dies, that's it. End of days. Done.
Well, that's the thing. Like she is like Woody, like eternal, Hopefully she doesn't give her voice up for some stupid younger thing. But though I guess Gabby was the same age as Woody.
I mean,
That's
she's not. But...
The more you think about this toy universe, the more fucking terrifying it is.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Well, I have two questions. First one. You know that Sporky is not convinced that he's a toy. This also goes for Toy Story 1 with Buzz. You know, like Buzz is convinced that he is a space ranger and that's his purpose, that he is fully sentient for that. Forky is convinced that he is just trash and that is that. He's not entirely sure why he's alive. How do they both know to freeze when there's a human around? Like, there is no point there's any rules. There is no point of, sort of saying, right, when this giant person comes around, you have to freeze. Like, surely Buzz, who thought he was some sort of space policeman, cop, ranger thing, would have attacked Andy at the get-go.
I have two answers for that question. First answer.
It's one of them because. Like...
First answer is because it's just a film. Get over it. The second answer is
no, it doesn't make sense. I'm not getting over it. It's like it's gonna haunt me to my grave.
The second answer is I believe that as toys, it's just an instinctful thing you have no control over. Like, you just become lifeless. Like, you don't. Maybe once you are conscious of it, you can control it. Like when you go to the gym enough and you actually develop pectoral muscles, you can flex them. Whereas now I can't. But like, once you are all conscious of it and understand it, like the Force, you can control it. But until then, it's just instinctual. Like, person comes in the room, you become lifeless. You may not make the effort to return to the same position you were in because you don't believe you're a toy, but like you just zone out in that time. I believe. Okay. That's my theory. Because Forky is the same in this as Buzz was. Like, Forky doesn't understand what a toy is, but he just instinctively, without thinking, turns back into a spork when he's not being looked at.
But I don't know. I think it's ill-explained. Second question. Mm-hmm. Did they dumb down Buzz in this recent film?
Right.
Did they make him thicker? Because he didn't seem. I mean, I know it's never been like the brains, but is.
So when I first watched this, I thought, oh, they've made Buzz a bit dumb because of this inner voice thing. But when I think about it, his whole history has been being dumb. In the first film, being dumb about being a real space ranger. In the second film, again, making similarly dumb questions or not thinking things through. In the third one, he's just as gullible.
And I think Spanish in the majority of the third one.
Well, yeah. The problem with Buzz is, and I don't think anyone's going to get upset when I say this, Buzz isn't a very developed character. Buzz has no personality of his own. Because the first film, the whole thing about Buzz is he believes he's a space ranger. In the second film, they go, oh, the whole thing about Buzz has been resolved. What do we do? I know. We'll get a second Buzz and do it again. In the third film, they go, oh shit, we can't have a second Buzz. I know. We'll press the reset button and do it again. So in the fourth film, they're like, oh, we've got this character that hasn't got a character. What can we do? He's gullible. And I think the only unfortunate thing is they clearly couldn't think of that question of, oh, what do we do with Buzz now? They didn't come up with a good answer. Because the answer was, we're going to have one running gag throughout the whole film. That's his storyline. The inner voice thing. It's a gag that stopped being funny very quickly. Yeah,
it kind of should have stopped after their first initial conversation about it, I kind of feel.
Yeah,
Like, he should
I
have pressed
think.
the button the one, and then that was it, really.
Well, I think it would have worked like when to get him out of the van, like
Yeah,
that, and then
and then after that,
that was it.
you're
But
right.
no, it kept going, and the payoff at the end when he spoke to Woody on top of the van and was like, "That's your about going back to Bo," was like, "That's your inner voice." The payoff wasn't worth it, in my opinion.
No, and also there was a relationship between him and Jesse. Is that not a thing anymore? Or...
Yeah, they dropped a lot. I think. Yeah, it's just again it was a good film, but it's also such a film outside of the trilogy. Like it's just it's
I did hear that
totally
it was
different.
very different from the others, and it was very different, really. It felt a little darker almost than the others.
It was a bit darker. This the structure, I think, and also not having a stronger story because there wasn't one. Doesn't help. But I don't know. It's just it was a good film, but like the problem is every time they make a film, they have to look deeper and deeper into this universe of sentient toys, and the more you look into that, the more weird questions it asks. Like, so are toys effectively slaves? In like, is that how they work?
But each film has only really ever carried the theme of abandonment. Like in each film, they're always scared of being abandoned. So essentially, they're like they're just like 4 movies of coping mechanisms, really.
Is it 4 films about parenting? Are these kids effectively metaphors of being the parents for those kids? And each film is a different way of tackling the parenting of that child. And like this one, for example, is that situation where your child's moved on and grown up, and you do, like in the case of Bonnie with Forky, you do something wherever you can just to stay, like, to have an impact on this kid's life, because you'll do anything because they don't need you anymore, but like you're desperate just to have some way of protecting them or doing something for them, and then understanding how do you deal with that, how do you move on now that your kid has moved on themselves,
and that it's okay to actually find your own happiness in the end, like, you know, to do you.
Yeah,
I guess so.
Yeah, I think
that maybe
point...
we're just reading well into.
We're over, you know. But the problem is that's what Pixar do, and like, I don't know. There's so many things to think about in the whole Toy Story universe. The other one I think I've been thinking about a lot this week is when you think about what they do. It's actually if this was real, it is actually terrifying, because when you think about, like, you're sat in your room and these little things are moving around and dancing around, like, and also manipulating your lives. Like, I think about the end of Toy Story 3 where Woody... Imagine that in real life. You're in your hallway at the top of the stairs talking to your mum, and there's a little doll that comes to life, jumps out of a box, runs to another box, writes the address of a young child on a post-it note, sticks it to the box, and then jumps inside that box. That's actually scary.
I think it's kind of handy. Again, like, if anything wants to come alive in my household and just run the Hoover around, I don't know, feed the cat, like, quite happy.
I said you've got enough sentient life in your house. It's your petting zoo.
I know, but they don't clean. They cause a mess. I need something to come alive that causes no mess to clean. Like, and there's enough of.
That's why you got a boyfriend.
He's got his own place to clean, doesn't he?
Well, anyway, I think we've talked Toy Story to death. I think we've covered everything.
So...
The important thing to remember is that Toy Story 4 is not the best one, but it made you cry because you're a big girl.
Yeah, and it is pretty damn amazing film anyways.
It's a really good film. I've seen it 3 times. I would happily see it a 4th time. Forky is the best character, and I hope they never make a 5th one.
I have a feeling they probably will, but I hope they don't.
Because there's money to be made, boy.
But, like, you know, They would have said that this was the final one, and they never did.
Well, they never will. But hey ho. Who knows? Toy Story 5 Electric Boogaloo, here we come.